Well, hi everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Feeling Smarter. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Tim Miller. G'day, Tim. How are you?
Yeah, going very well, Aaron. How are you doing?
Not too bad, thank you. Well, we're going to continue the journey around insurance inside SMSFs, and we've spoken over the past couple of episodes around some of the things that we need to consider with the holding of insurance and the way insurance proceeds are dealt with in a temporary and permanent incapacity position.
Yep.
Today, as we continue to explore this topic with our upcoming SMSF Insurance Masterclass, we're going to be looking at the area of terminal illness and specifically around the 2-year window. So if I can get you to just give us a little bit more into what that requirement is, what we must understand and adhere to ultimately have the benefit being accessible to that individual who may unfortunately have been struck down by a terminal illness.
Yeah, look, without going too far back in history with regards to the introduction of the condition of release as such, it was ultimately very briefly something to cater for those that were more than permanently incapacitated, and not obviously had not passed away yet, but had clearly been diagnosed with a terminal illness, which doesn't necessarily impact working capacity, but obviously had a financial burden attached to it. And so this terminal illness condition of release was introduced to ultimately say, with that financial burden, right, we want to alleviate any tax considerations or tax concerns that individuals will have. So if you are diagnosed with a terminal condition, and originally it was a 12-month waiting period, but then they expanded it to 2 years. So if you get the sign off, and of course, it takes a fair bit to get that sign off from 2 medical practitioners, one who specialises in that the field of the illness or injury, to certify the likelihood of the individual passing away inside that 24-month window. Then you can access your benefits as unrestricted benefits. So you can take it out and it's all non-assessable income. So, there's no, unlike the disability that we talked about previously, where there's an uplift in the tax-free component, the componentry doesn't change, but the full amount is withdrawn as if you're over the age of 60 with full access to your benefits.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. The reality is there's no need for your withholding obligations like we spoke about previously with age being relevant in the context of that disability payment that is made, whether income stream or lump sum.
Yeah, that's right. And so the one, I guess, the key difference is that with terminal illness, the assumption is that the member is going to pass away. It's not a requirement, obviously, in that sense, in that you can access the money, but if you have survived that 2-year window, that money remains unrestricted, non-preserved benefits. However, you then go back to a normal accumulation. So if you're accessing it, then it would be accessible as a normal lump sum, and you wouldn't get your tax benefit if you are under preservation age at that point in time.
Yeah, and one of the things I was also just going to reference there is that it is a nil cash-in condition. So ultimately, we did touch on the fact that there is the opportunity to take lump sum, but it equally gives the opportunity to take any combination of both lump sum and pension where it would be worthwhile.
Well, that's right, and I think this is one of the key things is it does have the capacity to draw a pension, but generally because of the tax-free nature of it, you're more likely to pull it down with the ability to then utilise it for existing medical expenses and high costs that often come with changes to the house or whatever, in palliative care or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and I think that's the reality of why we saw that shift from the 12 months to the 24 months as well, where that decline in health over time really accelerates, and therefore, as you mentioned, the fact that you don't need, well, the income stream is important, but in a lot of instances, you need it for the adjustment to the individual circumstances. The fact that you may need someone to take on a carer role to be able to support you, all those sort of things kind of just weigh up in the fact that there needed to be a better solution in the marketplace to deal with those, as you mentioned, that were more than what is permanently incapacitated.
Yeah, that's right. And look, what we'll do when we go through this more conceptually in the masterclasses. We'll review pension versus lump sum and the benefits to the individual versus the benefits to the fund and what might exist in that situation.
Is there anything sort of policy-wise that people need to be aware with these things, or any other sort of final areas that we need to contemplate around terminal illness, like outside of timeframes, whatever it may be?
Yeah, look, I think the main thing is that from a lot of is really checking your insurance policies too, because and appreciate that most of them do have terminal illness clauses in them to understand that ability to get payments from a life cover point of view, to have that payment made earlier, which then gives I guess the members, but more so the family as well, that financial not freedom, that's not the word I'm looking for, but that financial safety net to know that superannuation is accessible at that point in time. So yeah, that more broadly, but also to look at potentially the other tax benefits that might be available within the fund, that the member, whilst they're in a capacity to make decisions, might be able to help the fund moving forward.
Yeah, and I think one that sort of comes to mind is where you might have, it deals with terminal illness, but there may also be a link to, say, a death benefit as well. So, based on the age of the individual and so forth, where, do you ultimately draw down on the whole lot and the policy gets cancelled? Well, the fact that there may have been an additional payment that could happen thereafter as well. So really understand the detail, which is why you see, individuals within industry specializes in insurance, just as you do for people that specialize within the SMSF industry, to which we obviously operate as well.
Correct.
Well, again, that's just one of the areas that we'll be talking about in more detail in our upcoming SMSF Insurance Masterclass. It is on Tuesday, the 12th of November, starting at 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. If you want to find out more, go and visit our website, smartersmsf.com/events. Thanks again, Tim.
Always a pleasure, Aaron.
Have a great rest of the week, and bye for now.
See you all.